Hello! Welcome back! We are back again. The first full week of preseason is in the books. We're going to talk about it right here. I'm also back again. We got some news, some other things to talk about, and a couple of games from the second week of preseason. We'll go over all of the next week's preseason next week, or this week's preseason next week. But we do have a couple of games to still talk about. I have some early. You can't really label an MVP from preseason, but I'm going to call them the preseason MVPs. The people that I think have performed the best. Now, you got to take it with a grain of salt because, as Chris and I were discussing before we started the podcast, not everybody's playing their first teamers. But still, you've had some people that have come out and looked kind of impressive. I think we'll see a lot more of the starters next week.
It looks based upon yesterday's preseason game.
Yeah,
It looks like they are playing,
they're starting
to slowly.
Yeah, they're cycling them in a little bit. I think we'll see even more next week because when we used to have 4 preseason games, you never saw the starters until like week 4, week 3, week 4. But now you've only got 3, and then the 4th week is an off week. So now we're gonna have 3 weeks of we've got this week and next week, and that's it for preseason. Then a week off, and then you start the season. So you don't have much more time to get everything settled. We're going to talk about that. Let's talk about some other sports first, though, in the news, because there are a few things to talk about. I want to lead off with some NBA news, because there is one ginormous piece of NBA news that I think needs to get talked about, and that is James Harden and his standoff with Daryl Morey and the Philadelphia 76ers. Yeah. So Harden asked to be traded away from the 76ers.
Mm-hmm.
Morey and them originally attempted to make that happen, but apparently was such a steep asking price that even the LA Clippers, who really wanted Harden, backed out and said no. So Morey has stated that Harden will start the season with the team. He will be there, blah, blah, blah. Harden has said, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not coming in. I'm not doing anything for you. And I believe his statement was something along the lines of, Daryl Morey is a liar and I will never be a part of a team that he is a part of.
Fair.
That. And now the NBA has opened an investigation into the situation to see if Philadelphia purposely asked for entirely too much to sabotage this.
Yeah.
There's an investigation now over what's actually going on. So, yeah. I don't know what's going on there, but it looks explosive.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say at bare minimum, Harden is playing with the 76ers. Like, it's not gonna happen. Like, bare minimum, he ain't playing. As far as what happens after that, don't know. Just know he ain't playing there no more.
Yeah, the league office is pursuing an understanding of whether Harden is portending a 2023-2024 holdout in violation of the league's CBA, or if he'd been referencing past contract discussions with the organizations that might constitute a salary cap circumvention. Nonetheless, Harden has privately indicated that his public comments calling Morey a liar on Monday had only been a response to Morey ending trade discussions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff that's going on there. I have no idea what's happening, but yeah.
All I know is I really doubt Harden's going to play for the 76ers pretty much at all, so.
But yeah, that situation is explosive at the very minimum. It's... I don't know what's going on there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. That's really the only major NBA news. We still don't have anything on Dame being traded. Nothing over there.
Which I'm still shocked by that, but
Yeah, the NHL front has been very quiet, but this is the time of year where everything in the NHL quiets down. everybody is on vacation. All the
Yeah.
GMs are on vacation. There's not going to be any more major
Nobody's thinking about
moves.
anything. Yep.
There aren't going to be any more major moves in hockey for another month or two.
At least,
When they
yeah.
start happening, we'll report on them. But as of right now, there isn't much. Baseball stuff is going on. There's a lot of stuff there. Um, at least a grouping of stuff. Otani looks like he's a lock for the AL MVP, which is amazing. There have been some major trades that happened, such as Scherzer is now a member of the Texas Rangers. That one was big. Like, the Mets sold off quite a few pieces because they weren't. They thought they were going to contend, and then they didn't. They refused to call it a fire sale, but they sold off a lot of expensive pieces. So that's going to be interesting. There have been a couple of prospects that have already been called up, which is interesting. There was a guy who was literally just drafted, and the Angels already called him up. I think they drafted him like 7th overall or something, and they've already called him up. So that's interesting. I have no idea outside of that what's going on there, but there's a lot of stuff going on. The Twins are looking pretty decent. If you look at the standings right now, the New York Yankees are sinking very quickly. In fact, they're on pace for a losing season. They are currently 60-62. And they're the only team out east with a negative run differential. Funnily enough, Tampa Bay, who started so hot, is in second. They still have a plus 148 differential.
Fair enough.
But they're in second with a 74-50 record. The team leading the East, Baltimore.
Right.
Yeah. Minnesota is head and shoulders above everybody else in our division. 64-59.
Doesn't seem to ever matter.
No, it doesn't, but we are followed by Cleveland with 59-64, Detroit 55-67, and the White Sox at 48-74. We're the only team in the division with a positive run differential at plus 44. So yeah. The West looks pretty good outside of Oakland.
Of course.
34-88. 38 games back, minus 287 run differential. Like,
nice,
I don't even know
guys.
that they're competing anymore.
I don't think they are.
I don't think they are either. Atlanta, though, out in the National League, leads the East 79-42, plus 212 run differential.
Fair enough.
I believe I saw a stat that they've just had 3 shutouts in a row.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Milwaukee's also up there, 66-57, leading the Central, but they're just a little bit ahead of Cincinnati and Chicago. Sadly, both Milwaukee and Cincinnati have negative run differentials. Chicago has a plus 62 run differential. If that keeps up, there's a good chance that Chicago will eclipse both of them by the end of the season. And
Gotcha.
the Dodgers are kind of running away with the West. Plus 139 run differentials, 74-47. They look like they're going to run away with that. The Angels, despite having Otani, are struggling to hopefully make the playoffs, but it's not looking good for them.
Right.
Because they still have a minus 21 run differential, and they are 60-63. They are only holding on because they have something like Otani and Trout.
Yep.
And they're not good beyond that. So, anyway, that's kind of where we're looking at right now. It looks like New York's definitely going to miss the playoffs for the first time in a very, very long time. They also look like they might have their first losing season for the first time in a very long time. Which, the way they spend money, That's kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Now, NFL news. There's been some few pieces of interesting news. Um, Quick stories. Jonathan Taylor did come back to camp and then left again. But this was a team approved absence for some sort of
Personal reasons is what
personal
it says.
reasons. That's all it said. But it
Yeah.
was definitively team approved. They know what's going on. Sounds like it's some kind of familial emergency or something
Yeah.
potentially. Whatever it is, it's a personally approved reason. Ursay knows what's going on and approved the leave. So
Yep.
it sounds like whatever was going on there, it's not buried and dead, but the two sides at least have an understanding.
Yep.
Jacobs
They don't
still
hate each other. Jacobs, though, on the other hand.
Jacobs and the Raiders, on the other hand, nope, haven't heard that. Both
No
those camps
word,
have been
and
100% silent on that.
it sounds like what was it that Jacobs? What they say in fines that he had occurred up to? Like it was over $1 million already in fines for not being there.
Yep.
Like tells you how serious he is. Like $1 million, that's a lot of money. I mean, for obviously even a good running back, that's not, that's only partial pay to them, but like that's still a chunk of money for even them,
Yep. And
So whatever's going on, he really has no interest for whatever reason.
Yep. Yep. Um. Yeah.
Back to what we were talking about when it comes to people not getting along with that coach.
Yeah. There you go.
I mean, that's proof of it right there. You lost your QB, and now potentially your running back, and you lost the tight end that you traded away. Like, man, you guys are losing pieces quick.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now there are a few other things that need to be talked about. First off, Dwayne Haskins' estate has settled for a partial settlement in the death of that quarterback. For those of you that don't remember, last year, he was killed while walking along a South Florida highway. The family alleged that the truck driver was driving carelessly, and had a cargo load exceeding the legal weight limit. They
Right.
have settled. The family's lawsuit alleges that Haskins was drugged, robbed, and extorted before he was fatally struck. Toxicology does show that he was legally drunk when hit by the truck. But yeah, so that's kind of what's happening there.
Sorry.
Better?
Yeah. At least for now.
That's what's happening there. They have absolutely taken care of that. Oh, there's a whole throwdown again between Michael Oher and the Toohey family over the proceeds from the Blindside film. But that's not new. This is just the latest rumble in it. And
Which I
one
just
side
don't.
is claiming that the other side said, like, Oher said he never saw a dime of it and the Tuohys kept everything, and that they had promised to give him a portion of the proceeds. And the Tuohys have said that it was always their understanding that he wasn't going to get any because he had his NFL contract at the time, and that he's attempted extortion on them before, and now there's this whole falling out between that family. The kid who played Michael Oher in the actual movie said he didn't get to meet him until after filming was done because the offensive lineman was too busy.
Yeah.
I don't know what was going on at the time, but he was too busy to meet with the young man at the time.
It feels so weird. Like
the whole thing feels convoluted and stupid. And I'm not saying either side is stupid. So please.
No, it just feels. I guess the way I'm gonna put it is, it just feels weird because you watch the movie and you get the sense of a tight family, and then you hear about all this shit and you go, "What the fuck happened?"
Movies
And then
are
you just
meant
find
to
out
make things look tight, though, that really aren't.
they do.
And I
But in
think
this
for a long
circumstance, when
time-
you hear this, like, there's definitely truth there. It just feels more like money got involved in a way that shouldn't have, and
And
it
that's what
fucked
I think
everything up.
actually happened when the film got made. I think money split a lot of people. Well, between the film and then his
His
finally
NFL
making NFL
contract.
money,
Yeah.
I think everybody was expecting, hey, we helped raise you. Can we get a cut of that so that we can recoup some of what we spent on you potentially? I don't know if that was ever in their heads until he got the big
Yeah, I don't
contract
know.
and turned out to be really good.
I mean, in theory, no, but I don't know. Yeah.
I
And
don't know how all of that worked out. I just know that
no
it
idea.
now sounds like there's a lot of animosity there for
Yeah.
what was portrayed once as a life saving situation.
Yeah.
Um,
Which is the part that confuses me. Like if this if these people really like helped you out that much, like it just feels weird to all of a sudden turn a turn the other cheek sort of for somebody who helped you, but at the same time I guess we don't know how much help actually was given, but we know it looks like it was a substantial amount from the looks of it anyways.
yeah, but
Like
it's just the whole thing is weird.
it just feels weird.
It
It
feels
just
weird.
feels like something else happened that we don't know about that
Yeah,
really
like there's some stuff behind the scenes that
yeah.
we don't hear about.
Yeah. It just feels
But
weird.
that's something there. Uh, outside of that, other weird NFL news that I can talk about.
Oh,
Um,
do we want to get over to the Jets news cuz I don't think we talked about that last week. Did we talk about
I
that
don't
last
think we
week?
talked about that last week. Do you want to talk about that?
I think we should talk about that.
All right, go ahead.
So, Dalvin Cook finally received an offer from the New York Jets on a 1-year deal, which Dalvin Cook has accepted. So, now the Jets have Aaron Rodgers, and in the backfield they have Dalvin Cook behind him, which is already a scary combo, even if Cook is not as good as he used to be. It's still scary. Now, obviously, I don't love the move because we discussed how they had their really good running back last year from that was a rookie. I always forget his name and I feel bad
Brees
for it,
Hall,
but yeah, Brees Hall, yep. Um, now to be fair, he did have that injury. I think it was an ACL, right?
believe so.
Um, and so the theory is that even though you could come back from that and he's easily going to be ready for week 1, the argument is to be made that they don't have to bring him back early if they don't want to, if he doesn't feel like he's fully ready, or if the team doesn't feel like he's fully ready, if they just want to rest him a little bit more. They don't have to give him as many touches because now they have Cook there. So that gives him, a little bit of maneuverability. It still feels wrong to me because, like, Brees Hall is obviously your next guy, and so it feels a little weird to take away from him. But at the same time, coming off an injury, coming back from an injury, you don't know if he's going to be the same player he was before the injury. So I understand New York taking a little extra security blanket in Dalvin Cook,
And
so to
that's
speak.
exactly what I view it
And
as.
it's only a 1-year deal, which means that the odds that they're going to keep him long term is unlikely
Unless they feel Brees Hall is no longer
it,
a viable option
exactly
after the surgery,
exactly.
which I don't see that becoming a thing. I see Hall
It sounds like
definitely.
most people come back from those
Yeah,
nowadays. Yeah.
and it sounds like he's going to be okay. But this does give him a longer term to rest, and then if you can split the carries, you can keep your backs fresher for the playoffs. This is a
Yep.
perfect strategy. I like this a lot better than what New England did.
Yes.
This makes more sense to me. I'm more in tune with it. I think it's a good deal for both Dalvin and the Jets. If Dalvin can help the Jets out in an appreciable way, maybe he gets a longer term deal somewhere. I am glad that some team finally grabbed him and took a flyer on him. Um, I think that'll pay off dividends for the Jets. I think in the long run. Um, we mentioned the Patriots and we mentioned what they did because they went out and
Yeah.
signed Zeke.
Oh boy, do I not like this move.
Oh boy, do I not
Um.
like this move either. You've already got Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah.
He was looking to be the premier running back for you. Why are you bringing in a running back that's just been down ever since he
Yeah.
signed his big deal? He's slowly wearing down. He's breaking down. He didn't look good over the last couple of years. Are you trying to rejuvenate him? What's your thoughts here? I don't. What are you
I
doing?
I can only think that they're doing this just to give Stevenson a break once in a while. Like, I I cannot believe that they would sign Zeke as RB1. Like, there's just no way.
No, I think he's RB2 short yardage
He's
back.
yeah, like that's what he's gonna be known as now, and I think that's okay. Yeah, as long as like if you're just trying to make sure that Stevenson isn't getting worn out by taking too many carries, I can understand that. if that's what they're doing, okay. But if they split too much of his carries away to Zeke, then I'm gonna be really disappointed.
Yeah,
Because
but I think they almost always do stuff like that. So this,
I
while
know
I
that's
don't
why I'm
like the
concerned.
move, it is not a surprising move for Bill
Yeah,
Belichick. He always seems to have two running backs that could potentially be they're
yeah,
both RB2s in other systems, but he makes them together work as RB1s.
yeah.
It's
I
it's
just
his
don't.
thing.
I guess in my book, there's other people I would rather pair with Stevenson than Zeke. Zeke just doesn't feel like a good pairing at
It
all.
doesn't, but we'll see how that
We'll
works
see.
out.
Yeah.
I have no idea if this is going to be good or bad. My gut instinct tells me this isn't going to work out well,
Hmm.
but we'll see.
Could be wrong.
We could be wrong. Kareem Hunt still does not have a home yet. He is
No,
still
but he's been
looking for
visiting a
home.
lot of teams.
Yeah. Fournette, same way, no home yet. We haven't heard anything too much about them. So, at least that's interesting. The other big signing news, Jadeveon Clowney has been signed.
Hmm.
He now has a deal with the Ravens. As if that defense needed another pass rusher.
You know, if you can't fix your offense, just make your defense really mean.
That's
That's
yeah,
kind of what they're doing. Like
yeah.
they don't get me wrong, they don't have a bad offense. I'm not saying their offense is bad at all by any means. But if you can't rely on your offense as often as you'd like to, then having a good solid defense really helps that out.
Oh, the other big news in terms of signings and holdouts that are done, Zach Martin got his deal with the
Mm,
Cowboys.
yeah.
He is back. He is satiated. All of that is good news for him. He's happy. The Cowboys are happy. Everyone is happy. He's going to be back and blocking for the Cowboys.
Hmm.
Looked good. I'm very happy for him. And Goody Goody has squashed that Bactari will be going
Yeah.
anywhere. He squashed all the trade rumors that it's not happening.
Hmm.
David Bactari is staying right where he is.
Which, I mean, duh.
Like, I think we all knew that. All right. Now, let's talk about the first preseason week and the little bit of week 2 that we've seen so far. Lot of games. Not all of them were interesting or good.
Most of them weren't actually, but
Let's start with the big ones. First off, the big three, as I like to call them: Young, Stroud, and Richardson. Of them, Richardson had the most flashy moments. Didn't look great, but he had a few
yes.
moments in there where you're like, ooh, oh, okay, I could see why he was a first round pick.
Hmm.
Both Young and Stroud, you were like, ugh.
Yeah, they looked real rough.
That was rough. And then Young had. Now, he did get praised by Reich for showing poise in his second game, like not getting too frustrated, but he still didn't look great, guys. He went 3 of 6 for like 35 yards.
Now, granted, this is not uncommon for rookies. First year, quite often you'll see there's very few QBs that come straight out of college rookie year look great. So I'll give him credit in the fact of we gotta let this play out, see how next year looks.
You generally want
But
to see.
I want to see some flashes,
Yeah.
kind of like what we saw with Richardson. Richardson has shown me, okay, I see a flash there. I understand. Stroud and Young have not shown me a single flash that makes me go, oh, I understand why they were
Young,
drafted
that
above
makes-
Richardson, especially. Like,
Currently, that makes me more worried for Young than it does for Stroud because we've had 2 games of Young now, and
Yeah.
in neither one has he shown a major flash that's made us go, "Oh, that's why he was first overall." Stroud has a game this week that if he flashes something, you can go, "Okay,
I get
I'm
it,
less
yeah.
worried now." But Richardson had some definite flashes in that first week. I think we'll see more this week. He's already been named the starter for the Colts. But I don't think anybody else figured anything else was going to happen with that. I
Yeah,
think everybody
yeah,
kind of knew that Richardson was going to wind up becoming the starter.
oh yeah, Richardson was going to be the starter. Minshew was always going to be the backup. That
Yep,
was
that was
always
100% the way this was going to go. Speaking of which, real quick, Jonathan Taylor was. Oh, we mentioned that he was back at Colts
yeah.
camp. And
He's back now.
So,
Yeah.
with Taylor back, I think that helps out Richardson quite a bit. It's good to know that he's not going to hold out. I'm pretty happy about that overall.
They really need that. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's going to help Richardson a lot.
So that's been pretty good. But yeah, no, Young and Stroud have both looked rough,
Questionable.
and rough.
Again, year one. I get it.
It is year one, but
I need to see that flash. Give me the reason why you were drafted, especially above Richardson, who's already shown me a flash. Why were you drafted above? Show me.
Yeah. But that being said, and as we mentioned, this is against maybe not first stringers, but there are a couple of rookie quarterbacks that have looked a lot better than the position they were drafted in.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is a guy that I brought up after the draft when we did our draft breakdown and our review of all the teams that drafted. Dorian Thompson Robinson, DTR. Wow. That kid has looked really good. Because the biggest problem that a lot of people had with him was his accuracy coming out of college. He looks like he's figured that part out.
At least partially. At least in the system, anyway.
At least in that system, he looks really good. And he's rushing, and he's throwing well, and everything seems to be clicking for that dude right now. He looks really good. I am... if for whatever reason... he won't be the starter this year because you've got way too much money.
You got way too much money in Deshaun, yeah.
Yeah, in Deshaun Watson. There's just too much money invested in him. But if Deshaun keeps looking real rough, next year after, you could potentially see a DTR as a starter.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah. So, they've also had the Browns, surprisingly, have had a way better draft than I think people have given them credit for, because they also picked up get his name again because the dude is just Austin Watkins Jr. from UAB. He's a 25-year-old, so he was all the way in as a senior, the whole way through college. So far this preseason, in the 2 games he's played, 15 catches, 245 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Yes, you're not playing exactly against first stringers, but that's still
good. Yeah.
That's still pretty impressive overall. I am not unhappy with that. Speaking of things I'm also not unhappy with, Aiden O'Connell from the Raiders. Also drafted.
I mean, you're higher up on him than I am, but, you know.
Yeah, but that's because, he looked really good when he was out throwing against the 49ers. He was 15 of 18 for 141 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, and I watched some of that game, and, like, yeah, I mean, a lot of what he did was, some of it was good, some of it was the receivers doing a lot of work. It was kind of one of those things where I noticed some things were good, some things that were rough.
But he shows promise.
He's maybe. I just, like, put in perspective, I watch DTR and I go, oh, that kid might be a future starter. I look at O'Connell and go, he'll always be just a backup. I just don't see him. I
look at him though, and I don't see a star. I do see a potential starter, like a Jimmy G.
Maybe a Jimmy G style, or like a Fitzpatrick or something. I don't know.
Something along those lines. Another guy that I think, considering where he didn't look great.
There's one guy I'm really high on, so if we'll see if this is the guy I'm really high on, because there's a guy I know I'm high on and you're not at all.
Well, we'll see if this is it. He didn't look stupendously great, but he did end up looking decent considering where he was fucking drafted. The Rams are wearing a Stetson.
That's not the one I'm thinking of, but yes, that was good.
I know. I'm pretty sure I know which one you're thinking of because you were high on him last year. You were smoking him last year.
No, this is a rookie that I'm high on this year.
Oh, quarterback?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, Stetson Bennett actually didn't look horrible. He actually looked pretty
No, he
decent.
looked okay. Yeah.
He looked pretty doggone good. I was not at all upset by what I got to see
Mm.
of Stetson Bennett.
No, I was like again, like you were saying, not like flashy, wow, oh my god, but definitely like, oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
not bad at
that
all.
was that was pretty good. Yeah, I can
Yeah.
see that. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um. Yeah. Outside of that, um, there is another guy that I was pretty impressed with, but he didn't get a whole lot of action. Holt Nailers from the Seattle
Mm.
Seahawks. I thought that was
Yeah.
fun to watch. Uh, but yeah, um,
Nah. Do I have to mention the guy I'm high on, or are you not gonna get there?
I might get there. It depends on who you're talking about.
I know. I'm waiting to see if you're gonna eventually get there or not, but I feel like you might not.
Well, going down the list, also kind of high on a rookie that I had no idea who he was or what happened to him.
That literally, this is my feeling of the QB. Like I literally did not know who this was. I started watching play and went, "Holy shit, what the fuck?"
The guy I'm talking about has a fun last name. First off, his stat line: 10 of 17, 111 yards and a touchdown.
Mhm.
They did lose that game, but the other two people in it, one of them looked decent, not spectacular, but pretty good. The other one, he's in trouble losing the backup job to this guy. His name is John Wolford.
Oh, Wolford, yeah.
No idea who that was, but watching him
Yeah.
play for the Buccaneers, I think he looks more ready to play than Kyle Trask does.
Which was weird because Trask, like, for a second there, people were like, "Yo, Trask's looking really good." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
And then
And
Baker, who didn't
yeah.
look good in camp, came out 8 of 9, 63
Oh
yards and a
man, yeah, he
touchdown.
looked
He
good.
looked good. He
He
looked like
looked
he
good.
was ready to go.
You
So,
remember what we said about fucking Mayfield? Like literally, I think it was last week or the week before, where I was like, Mayfield's just one of those guys that like I'm like right on the bubble of like, show me something great. I'm gonna fall in love with you all over again because I don't think you're good enough. And then he fucking did it in preseason. He made me fall in love with him all over again and going Mayfield, Mayfield. Like, fuck you, Baker. Why can't you be consistent, you asshole?
that is a problem.
Because he literally is so far in the spectrums of he looks like shit and can look fucking amazing. How? It's so weird. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. That's very weird. It's very unorthodox, but it's not 100%
Yeah.
wrong. Yeah. But yeah, there have been some other impressive rookie performances so far.
Come on, get to the QB already. Come on, like it. If you, I swear, if you don't get there, I'm gonna be upset eat spaghetti with you. Cause that just tells me how like little you rate this guy, and I'm gonna be like, motherfucker.
Well, it's also a matter of I haven't. I
You
had.
might not have seen the match, yeah.
Yeah. Um. I really haven't. Now, there are a couple of other dudes floating around that had good stat lines. Um. What week did he impress you in?
It was week 1. I mean, I could tell you the team, but that would give it away.
Yeah, probably. I mean,
Put it
yeah.
this way: on the team, there was one player, there was one QB who didn't impress me, and I was looking forward to watching play. Didn't impress me. Then I watched the second half. I think particularly because I ignored pretty much the rest of the first half. Then I watched the second half of this QB playing. I went, "This guy looks better than their other guy who they have as a starter. What the fuck is this?" That might be a big enough hit. We'll see.
We'll see. Have they actually named a starter?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I guess technically they haven't, but it's basically a done deal that he's going to be the starter.
I mean, you might be talking about a young man out of Ole Miss.
Did he come from Ole Miss? I actually don't remember. No, I don't think he did. Hold on, let me check.
Well,
before
I'm
before I
not sure who
confirm
you're
that.
talking about, but Matt Corral is another
No,
one.
I wasn't talking about him. But he looked. I didn't actually watch or see anything from him. I heard that he was only like me.
He was kind of meh.
Where did he come from? Let me see here. Da, 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 da.
Da 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 da.
Da, 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 da. Penn State. He came from Penn State.
Yeah, the only rookie that came out of Penn State was Aiden O'Connell.
No.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Or no, he wasn't Penn State. He was Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know anybody that took anyone from Penn State outside of Joey Porter Jr.
Oh man. Sean Clifford, come on. Sean Clifford. Yep. Green Bay Packers. Behind Jordan Love.
Well, meh.
No, I don't think you understand this. I watched the game. He looked like his stats might not like his stats should be okay, but they might not look amazing. His play on the field was outstanding. Like in comparison to Jordan Love, I don't think you understand. This guy looked like he could move, he could get out of the way of the collapsing pocket. He was reading the pocket incredibly well. He was making good decisions, making good throws. Like he looked more poised and ready to play than Jordan Love did. Like, to be completely honest with you. Now, granted, week 1, I want to see week 2 with him.
Yeah.
But he looked actually good. Like, I'll put it this way. When I watched him play, I went, oh no. The Green Bay Packers might actually have another fucking MVP quarterback. That's what I saw on tape. No joke.
I'm not that high on him, and it's just me.
Yeah, I watched the kid.
I think you're overrating him a little bit. He does look
I hate Green Bay. Remember, I hate Green Bay.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying potential starter. Yeah, maybe. But I
don't know if he will, but like just that 1 week, if he comes out week 2 swinging as hard as he did week 1,
then I might buy in a little more. I'll be honest with you. If I see that again, I might buy in a little more. I doubt we're gonna see that, but that's just me.
I don't know. I was real impressed. I'm curious. Like, granted, I will fully admit, playing against probably not first stringers, probably second, maybe probably even third stringers. Like, but still, he would. I think the big things for me as a QB that's important is that he was reading the pocket, getting out of pressure, being able to extend the play on his feet, and making good accurate throws while running. That's hard to teach. So he's already got the tangibles. So I'm very interested to see what's going to happen.
So, speaking now of non-rookie starters who with people with potentially new teams too that have impressed so far. Derek Carr.
Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield, honestly, yes. Yep. Baker Mayfield looked a lot better than I expected him to. I am not entirely unhappy with what I've seen out of Baker Mayfield. If he continues that particular style
I just want off the Baker trade, but I can't. He keeps bringing me back in.
If he continues that kind of play, he's going to be pretty good for them, and I think they're going to be a tough team in the South. However, another team that's going to be really tough in the South is Derek Carr and the Saints. Dude drove them right down the field. Bing, 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 bing. Touchdown.
Talk about a guy that's constantly underrated, too. Like,
yeah,
my God.
He looked really good. Another guy that I think has taken major steps. He's not with a new team, but he did get a new contract. Daniel Jones. Daniel
Jones, yeah.
Now, you might remember at the end of last season, I was telling you that he was looking a lot better and that he was looking pretty good. He went right down the field. Bing, 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 touchdown. I think he's made his best strides under Dable. As you and I were discussing, he's made strides every year, but he has made massive leaps under Dable, and I think he looks really good. And if they keep this up, the Giants are going to be a really tough team to beat. If you even look at their box score, it was fun. They were really good. Jones, 8 of 9, 69 yards and a touchdown. You end up with Darren Waller, 3 catches, 30 yards. Jalen Hyatt, 4 for 35 and a touchdown. You had people all over that field making all sorts of plays that were just amazing. Now, another rookie that we finally got to see in action, Bijan Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
Bijan Robinson got in the game. And you know what? Not bad.
Not bad.
4 rushes, 20 yards, 5 yards a rush. He also caught a couple of passes. So I'm not mad at it. He caught a pass for 6 yards as well. I'm not mad. It looked good. Ritter did not look horrible. He did have that one pass though where I went, "Oh, what are you doing?"
I mean, he's still. I mean, to be fair, if you remember, he didn't get put into the game until our last year, pretty late before he became a starter. So
yeah, he threw that.
He still has
threw
some.
that pick this time, and I was like, "Oh, what are you doing? Don't!" Oh,
But
damn it.
Ritter is one of those. From the looks of it, he's gonna be a Fitzpatrick, where he's gonna be a bit of a gunslinger. Sometimes he's gonna make throws that are very questionable.
Yeah, that's
Just what you. The thing is, the type of quarterback he is I'm not gonna compare. I'm not gonna directly compare. Like this is gonna be a bit of a stretch, but again, Brett Favre, like gunslinger. He's gonna throw the ball because he thinks he's gonna be able to make the pass when he probably shouldn't, and he probably can't.
Yeah,
like
that's a thing.
Ritter kind of is gonna be one of those guys, and that doesn't make him a bad QB. It just means that you just gotta anticipate that you have to have a really good defense because sometimes he's gonna cough up the ball doing something stupid. Like, is what it is.
That is very true. Also, other rookies that were kind of impressive. Deuce Vaughn, 8 carries, 50 yards, and a touchdown. I'm actually not mad by that. Not mad at all by that. Holy shit. Is he a rookie, though? He definitely had a good game. He is a rookie. Elijah Dotson for the Chargers.
Oh, yeah, Dotson,
out of North Colorado. That dude. 6 carries, 92 yards, 2 touchdowns. That 40-yard scamper was pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah. I enjoyed watching that. Yeah. So yeah, there have been some pretty good performances. We do have to briefly mention a performance that looked amazing, but when you go back and look at it, it's not as cool as you think it is. Justin Fields, 3 for 3, 129 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Sounds good on paper, don't it?
Sounds good on paper. Both touchdowns were screen passes. One to Khalil Herbert and one to DJ Moore. And
receivers
both
did all the work.
Did all the work on that. Just speed and scamper. And in fact, the one to Moore, he kind of threw a little behind him. And had he thrown it just a touch more on the other shoulder, on the far shoulder, he would have had a much better chance to catch and run with it. And I think in the actual game against starters, I don't think that would have gone nearly as far as it did.
Probably not.
Yeah, that's just my feeling on it, though. I could be on drugs, but who knows? Now,
who knows?
Another guy that we wanted to talk about, and you and I kind of talked about, Trey Lance. He did not look great for a long stretch of that game.
Well, yeah, God.
And
he looked really rough.
And I think it's because he's not comfortable with all the reads. If you look at it...
I can't tell if it's the reads or if it's the pocket or what's going on. Like, there's moments where you can tell he's second-guessing himself quite often.
Yeah.
Like, it looks like he's, like, gearing up to throw, and then all of a sudden he doesn't, and then it's too late.
Yeah. And that's going to be a problem for him. He needs to make quicker reads in that offense. It did look like he eventually kind of settled down a little bit.
A little bit.
And got his feet back under him, but...
Little late, though. Yeah.
Yeah, it has not looked very good for him. I don't know if he has a future in San Francisco. He's probably got a future in football if you find the right system for him.
Maybe with the right system, yeah. I just... The problem is that he just hasn't shown enough anywhere to even get to a different team really easily. Like, I just don't know what his future looks like at this point. Unless he can step up big in these next preseason games, it's going to be really rough. And he might
be able to. And if he does, great.
Yeah.
I wish the world for the kid.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's been dealt kind of a crap hand.
Oh yeah.
And I would like to see him get dealt a better hand. Whether or not he gets dealt that hand, I don't know.
Yeah, he's gotten really unlucky over the last couple of years. Like, there's no other better way to put that. He just really hasn't.
Now, another guy who actually I was down on, but now I'm a little bit more up on. And I think sitting for a couple of seasons behind the way that he's going to, instead of having to be the starter again, Zach Wilson.
He actually surprisingly looked pretty decent.
14 of 20, 123 yards and a touchdown. And he had that spectacular deep throw down the sidelines that went for a touchdown. That was.
Then he had another spectacular one that went nowhere.
Yeah. But
again, accuracy issues. We already kind of knew that.
But he's learning. He's learning from. I think he's learning from Aaron, and I think Aaron is willing to teach him, if only because I feel like Rodgers in this case came in knowing there was already a young gun in there, and he didn't get surprised by them taking a quarterback and moving up to take a quarterback and not asking.
He willingly moved to the Jets knowing that there was this kid.
That his replacement was already there, and that he was going to mentor him and probably help the Jets along the way. And I firmly agree with this. Like, I was kind of down on it, but you know what? I think it's been good for Zach. And I remember all the talk that Zach was like, oh, I'm going to make that guy's life hell. And I'm like, But this was the one veteran they brought in that I think he wouldn't do that to. Because Zach Wilson has professed that he grew up idolizing and watching Aaron Rodgers play. And that he's an Aaron Rodgers fan. So now you're getting to meet a guy that you've always thought was one of the best quarterbacks of all time, that you probably had pictures of your wall on, and he's telling you.
Yeah, like, why wouldn't you listen to him?
Why wouldn't you listen to him?
Yeah.
I think this is the best thing for him. I think a couple of years behind Aaron, with Aaron actually attempting to help you and teach you, I feel like Zach's going to get better because of it. And I feel like when Aaron Rodgers does ride off into the sunset, that Zach will be fully ready to hold the reins and take the Jets and continue.
That's the hope, anyways. I don't know how.
We'll see how it works out. I don't
know how ready he'll be, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
It's their best chance, anyways.
We also got to find out what's going to be interesting with. Hold on, I need his name because I don't remember it off the top of my head.
No, you're good.
I'm sorry. It's going to be interesting because what we did see of him was unique. I don't know what Bill is going to do with him. Malik Cunningham. 3 of 4 for 19 yards, 5 carries, 34 yards, and a touchdown. I don't know how Bill is going to use him in the Patriots system or how that's going to work out.
It's interesting, though.
It is. Also, we did not get to see Mac yet. I hope we see him this week.
Probably
be playing today. They play the Packers today at 7:00 tonight.
Which I'll be watching just for Sean Clifford.
It's not on a thing that I'm going to be able to get my hands on, but I will be listening, and it's on at the same time as the Vikings game. So
God damn it!
I will be listening to the Vikings and the Titans.
I'll have to figure out how I'm going to do that.
I will be listening to the Vikings and the Titans. Now, what you could do is put in a headpiece and listen to their game, and especially if the local station has the Vikings game on. Then you could put.
Well, I was gonna say I could throw on like the local channel on my TV, and then on my computer I could throw on the
that's
Packers game.
Yeah.
But however, there is actually. I'm actually interested in watching Tennessee as well because one other QB that we didn't talk about that looked far better than he did last year is on the Titans.
Yes, Malik Willis. He actually looks like he went out and made some strides and some steps to become a better quarterback.
Oh, yeah. And it sounds good. Will Levis did not look as good as Malik. I mean, Will Levis didn't look bad, but clearly they're battling for the backup, right?
Yeah, he's a rookie.
But I'll say this. If I'm interested to see Malik only from the fact of he's probably not staying with the Titans long term, and the only reason I say that is because if they drafted Levis, it's clear that they're not high on Malik at all.
I think Levis is probably the QB of the future. I think Malik is now battling for another team.
Yes. And that's why I'm interested, because I want to see what he can do, because, let's be honest, the Vikings might need another QB.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
I'm just saying.
If he looks good, I'd give it a shot. Not
I'm just saying,
100% opposed to it.
but I want to see what Malik Moore does, because, like, so far, like, that first week back was like, that looks way better than he was doing last year. Let's see if he can continue that.
Yeah, so there's a lot of storylines coming into this week. Now, we do need to talk about Jordan Love, though.
God, he did not look good. In my opinion, I don't think he looked good at all. He had some throws that looked really good.
Oh,
don't get me wrong.
He
definitely had some
throws that were.
But
Jesus,
he had some.
That throw into the end zone was.
Yeah.
Oof.
He's got an arm. I'm not going to disregard that. But
I will also say that there was one throw that they just got lucky on.
Yes.
And that would be that throw down the sidelines deep or very early on when that safety came over and batted the ball away. Oh, the receiver had that corner toasted. That was just an instinctually great play by a young safety who batted that ball down. He just got, I won't say lucky. That was a lot of skill, but...
That was a lot of skill, yeah.
But, I think in another situation, that pass is completed and gone.
Probably, but... So here's why I say with Love not looking good. I want to clarify this. His arm talent is fantastic. He sometimes has some accuracy issues.
I did see that crop its head up.
But my biggest issues why I actually have problems with him is he looks like a fucking statue in the pocket. Like
he didn't move very well.
He didn't move very well, and he wasn't good at reading the pocket pressure at all.
No.
And that's that can be a problem if he goes against really good defensive lines. They'll just abuse the shit out of him.
Well, we're about to find out because they played we played the Patriots. They played the Patriots this week.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Like if the Patriots defense toasts this kid, that's going to be very telling. Cause
I will say he did not get sacked.
No, but he was constantly pressured and moved and had to he just didn't look. I don't know. He just didn't look right. It didn't look comfortable. I'll put it this way: the Patriots will probably sack him at least a couple. I'm guaranteeing at least 2 to 3 sacks from the Patriots defensive line based on how he moved in the pocket last week. If he improves, then maybe he'll be okay. But
we will see. I think it's going to be an interesting period of time for the young man because we'll see if he.
I really want to. I want to see. I guess here's the thing too. I want to see him try to throw off game, like basically when he's forced to push out, like he was last week. He was quite often either making errors or throwing the ball away. What happens, like, when he's getting constantly pressured and not allowed to play his own game? Like, if the Patriots are going to do that, they're going to constantly pressure you, not let you play your own game. And
they're going to twist things up, and Bill is going to
give
you...
So how do you adjust? Can he adjust?
A lot of looks.
And that's going to be the important thing is, can Love adjust? And if he can't adjust, that's going to be a huge problem for the Green Bay, in my opinion. If he can adjust,
firmly agree.
Then,
we'll see. We'll see. I didn't completely hate what I saw, which I hate.
No, I didn't hate it either. But
and
I wasn't hugely impressed either.
Let's put it this way: he didn't look as rough as I hoped he would look.
Yeah,
but he didn't look as good as everybody made him out to be.
Exactly. So, he was more middling. To be honest.
Middling. Look, I'm not gonna say that I am rooting for a kid to fail.
No.
He's a young man. I really hope he has success. But he plays for the Packers, so at the same time, F him.
Fuck the Packers, yeah.
Fuck the Packers as an organization. I don't hate the individual. I've never said that I've hated the individual players from the Packers. I don't hate Aaron Rodgers.
A lot of people dislike him, though.
Is he a diva? Absolutely. He's
got a personality that's kind of dislikable at times.
Yeah, he's got a dislikable personality on occasion, and I will be honest about that. I don't hate him because he was a Packer. I hated him on the Packers because F the Packers. Every ex-Packer that's gone somewhere else, okay, cool, dude. Like, there have been a lot that have come to us. Darren Sharper.
Yeah.
Sharper, Brett Favre. There's even a receiver. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but, we've gotten a lot of ex-Packers players before, and you know what? Mm-hmm. Hey, when they go somewhere else, I'm all for them. I'll root for them. I like them. But the moment you're on the Packers, F you. I don't like you
Yeah,
anymore.
I don't like you anymore. Yep.
Sorry,
Just
it's
the way
just
it
the way
is.
it is.
Yep.
So no, I'm not actively rooting for Jordan Love to be a horrible player. I am
No.
actively rooting for him to have success and be a good player. I just actively root against the Green Bay Packers. So, and that's the way I look at it. No, so he didn't look as good as everybody hyped him up to be, but he didn't look as bad as I thought he was going to be, potentially. So yeah, I think there's some promise there. He definitely has an arm.
Oh, he's got a cannon of an arm. Yeah.
And if they can find a way to make that work, I think he's going to be a dangerous quarterback for them.
Oh, yeah,
If
probably.
Clifford could come out and repeat a performance again, maybe you don't have a battle per se, but you've got somebody in the wings that if Love stumbles is ready to snatch that reins from him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we'll
I mean,
have to see.
I gotta see what he does, but like that, I don't know, man. Just his I'll put it this way: Clifford's football IQ seemed to be really high, and I want to see if that continues.
The other guy, rookie wise, that I kind of looked at and I went, he had decent stats and didn't look completely horrible for a really team.
Mm.
Clayton Tune. I believe he's quarterback from Houston, and he's playing for Arizona.
Mm.
Rookie. I believe
Yeah.
they drafted him this last year. I like his name too, Tune.
Yeah, it is kind of a fun
It
name.
is kind of fun.
I didn't really get to watch much of that, but
He wasn't horrible.
no. But again, you're playing for Arizona. So
You're playing for Arizona, but again, a lot better than I think. Like, I don't ever think he'd be a starter, but a very
Probably
competent,
not.
but a very competent backup. Yes, and I
Yeah.
think that if you had him as a backup, you could squeeze some games out of him if your starter got hurt. That kind of a
Probably.
player, you know, one of those guys that you
probably.
look at and you go, "Oh yeah, no, he's going to be around the league a long time if he continues to play like that because he's
Yeah.
just good enough to be on the cusp of what you think you could start, but at the same time, he doesn't quite have the talent to be a starter, and you know it."
Right.
Like a Nick Mullins. Like Nick Mullins has looked good in Minnesota, but I wouldn't want to start him.
God, I would never want to start him.
But you know what?
If
If
you had to, you could. But
I was going to
God.
say, if Kirko got hurt, I'm not opposed to it. At least
Depends
at
on
least
where
he's
Kirk gets injured.
At least
Like
he's
if it's at the start of the season, I'd be like,
there goes
it's
the
towards the
season.
back end of the season.
But
Yeah.
if it's like towards the back end of the season, it's just going to be a week or two. No, okay.
You'll-
Okay.
All right, he might get you one of those
We
games.
could
All right.
probably squeeze a win out of that.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I saw him, but it wasn't horrible.
Also, if we're on that note of talking now, we're talking about Vikings quarterbacks. I mean, we should probably talk about the elephant in the room a little bit since we haven't addressed it yet.
Do we have to?
I mean, we haven't addressed it yet, and people are going to be like, why the f have you not addressed it? You're Vikings fans.
All right.
Listen, he's a rookie. He didn't look horrible.
He didn't look great.
He didn't look great.
I didn't see a flash that made me go, "Oh, that's why they took him."
No, there was no flashes.
no
Granted,
flash.
5th round pick, so I mean, those are
I don't-
always gamble QB picks, as we know.
I don't think he's the heir apparent, just based off that one game. But
Granted, we have to see more. He
We
didn't get a
do.
lot of time.
we do.
I mean,
Considering that Mond actually looked somewhat decent in the game. No, the second week, week 2.
oh, okay. First week it looked horrible.
First week he looked horrible. Let me tell you about week 2 though. He redeemed himself. Because they had that game, it was a tie, 18-18 against the Eagles.
yeah.
Because DTR, of course, 13 of 25, 164 yards, did not throw a touchdown. He did rush 4 times for 18 yards as well. So,
Yeah.
not bad. Not bad. Kellen Mond, 12 of 24, 126 yards, a touchdown, did not take a sack, did not throw an interception, rushed 2 times for 7 yards.
Improvement for sure in the system, obviously.
Definitive.
I get. Yeah. Now,
But I'd like to see him do it consistently.
consistently, yeah.
As we mentioned, consistency is the key on this.
Now, I'll give credit to Hall in this way. Like, you know, everybody in the Viking organization has been like, no, this kid's really smart. He really knows what he's doing, which is fair. But there's a difference between being smart and knowing it and being able to perform it. Um, and they were saying during practice and training camps that he was looking good, looking solid. Again, different than actually playing. So I guess I just want to see him. Now, to be fair, I've seen this before. Week one, where especially preseason, where they'll be a little lighter on the workload. They won't try to push any of their rookies sometimes to do anything super crazy. And then as the preseason goes on, they'll open it up. They'll open, quote unquote, open up the playbook more, right?
Yeah, and if they do that and he looks better, then that just means
Yeah, exactly.
that he's more uh, comfortable with a larger expanded playbook and the ability to do different things.
Yeah, and
Um,
that's what I'm want to see. Is I'm hoping this week and next week we'll really see him take a step forward and show that no, I got drafted for a reason. I'm here for a reason. That week one was not it.
no,
Hopefully week two and week three will prove it. And if they don't, we might have another Kellen Mond situation where people keep talking about how like, oh, he's got the tangibles, he's got some of the things, but like he can't quite click right.
yeah, I agree with that.
Ugh.
We'll have to see how this plays out.
Yeah.
There is a potential, depending on how we do this season and who gets hurt and how well we do or don't do, that we could move up. There's a couple of QBs that I saw that could fall into the middle of the first round, and I went, I would not hate that.
There's some of that, but there's also the rumor that if we play well, guess who gets another extension?
There is a rumor, but we do have to worry about he's starting to get onto the wrong side of the top end of 30.
The age, yeah.
Yeah. So we definitely got to start looking for our next QB. That is definitely something that needs to start happening.
Which, to be fair, I'll give the Vikings credit. They have been doing that with the picks that they've more or less been given. You know, they tried Mond out for a while, didn't work. They're trying Jaron Hall. They're clearly going for that experimental QB of, you know, this guy's got a lot of intangibles. Let's see if we can make him work. You know, they're trying to do that. And I'll give them credit for at least taking those kind of gamble picks because obviously, like, remember, Russ was a 5th round pick too. Turned out to be a great gamble for the Seahawks, right? Like,
Yeah, but the thing was with Russ. Here's how I'm going to tell you the honest truth. Russ had a lot of hype before being a 5th round pick. To me, because I already had heard of Russell Wilson back when he played at NC State. He was already
no,
turning
yeah,
heads. And then he transferred and he played at Wisconsin. He wound up playing in the flippin' Rose Bowl. And
yeah.
he put up some stupidly good numbers. Like,
I'm
knew
not
who he
disagreeing.
was. The fact that he slipped to the 5th round, I consider nothing more than a travesty because he slipped because he's small.
Yes, but there's a couple other QBs that have done that we've seen that with. So I'm just saying that, like, those quote unquote experimental QBs is what they call them, right? Or at the time, for the time period, right? For the time period that Russell was drafted, he was considered a quote unquote experimental QB, which is funny because nowadays that's kind of like what a lot of QBs are looked at
Well, and
now.
I mean, if
Like,
you
it's
look
hilarious.
at it like Lamar Jackson too,
Right, yeah, exactly.
I don't think he was even a 1st rounder,
I thought he was. I thought he was
or he might have
first
been.
round
He
towards
might
the
have been
back
the very
end.
bottom of the 1st round.
I think he was. Hold on.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna. I believe he was like towards the back end, if I remember right.
like 31st or something, 30th, 31st.
Da, da, da. Come on, show me
I
the
couldn't remember if
draft.
he was 2nd round or 1st round.
Uh, uh, selected by the Ravens as the final 1st round pick.
Yeah, 32nd overall.
Yep, final 1st round pick. That's why I was like thinking. I was like, I'm pretty sure he was a 1st rounder, but I know he was like towards the
it was going
bottom.
to be close, but
Yeah,
like quarterbacks like him didn't get.
but again, he
drafted.
slipped because
Yeah.
it was a experimental. The difference is that the Ravens went, oh boy, we can see a lot of upsides to this rather than downsides, and that's why they took took him so in the first round. Like in past years, he probably would have slipped into the second or third.
Yeah. The first time you really saw an experimental style quarterback that took really high spots, probably Cam Newton.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, he or Mike Vick maybe.
Yeah, Vic. Yeah, you could say that. Yeah.
Yeah, both of them were known for their running and their ability to really launch a ball.
Heck, you could argue Kyler Murray was one of those kinds of players. A high
Yeah,
draft,
but he was
sort of experimental, because
yeah.
he's small, right?
He is smaller. He is much smaller. And
So.
that's really because both Vic and Newton were big dudes.
Big dudes. Yeah.
So the first small mobile guy that was like a top pick would have been Murray. Yeah, that's at least the one I can think of.
Yeah. There might be another one, but he's definitely the one that stands out that I can remember.
Stands out in my head. So it's interesting. I can see what we're doing, but at the same time, I don't see what we're doing.
No, it's one of those things where, like, I'm going to be blunt. The Vikings had an option to pick Will Levis before Titans did. He was on the board when we were picking.
At first, in the first round. We went
in the
with
first
Jordan
round.
Addison.
Which I'm not mad about.
No, and I completely understand it.
Yeah.
But I think I'd have taken Levis. That's me.
I want it, especially because we want that guaranteed. Like, Kirk is done this year. He's got no contract after this year. We need a QB succession. If you don't plan on extending him, then what are you doing? Okay, you went and got Jaron Hall, an experimental QB, who always, whenever you get an experimental QB, almost always takes at least a year to get going. You only have a year with Kirk, though, so it's not...
I think
unless you're hoping by the end of this season that Hall either makes a huge jump forward, or you're hoping to be able to move up in the draft board to pick a really good QB, I don't see what you're doing.
No, and that's what I think they're thinking is either they can move up to draft a good QB, or that somebody's going to come available, trade, free agency, something that they'll be able to use to get their hands on somebody that
maybe
somebody else couldn't keep. You know,
like there's obviously the big rumor with either the 49ers or the Arizona moving off of Murray, obviously.
Very obviously, because you could either pry Kyler Murray out of Arizona or maybe one of the quarterbacks out of the 49ers. And those are both very, very valid options in my opinion. I wouldn't even mind prying Davis Mills out of Houston.
No, I would be okay with that if you had to. Like, as a final last resort for somebody who can start and look good.
Yeah, exactly. So there are options.
Heck, it'd be funny to get Stafford from the Rams. I don't think it would work, but it'd be funny.
I don't think that's going to happen. It'd be funny, though. It would be kind of humorous, though. But yeah, there are options. We'll have to see how it all plays out. I think there are some options there that the Vikings are going to look at the end of the year. I think this is from what I've seen, this draft of QBs is loaded.
It looks good, but remember, we thought that last year, and there was definitely good QBs in this draft, but there was definitely a drop-off after a certain point, for sure.
Oh, yeah, but I mean...
And so I'm a little worried we're going to get into that again, where we're going to have the 3 or 4 really good, and then all of a sudden there's going to be a dip.
No, but, well, there's at least a couple that we haven't been able to watch.
Yeah, exactly.
And, like... I honestly feel like this upcoming class is even better than the class that just happened.
At least as far as QBs are concerned, would agree. But that also means that they're all going to go in the first, 3 to 4, picks, probably. Unless we can somehow move up the odds that... I guess it depends on how it all shakes out, right? Obviously, if the Panthers are at the bottom again and the Texans are at the bottom again, they're not going to draft another QB. They're just not going to.
No.
Same thing with the Colts.
The Cardinals might... which would free
but the
up
Cardinals probably will.
Kyler Murray. And I honestly feel like Murray could work. I think he needs a change of coach and a change of scenery.
He definitely needs a different coach that's going to work for him. But at the same time, I'm just worried about that.
Is this coach...
Does he actually have an attitude problem? That's my big worry.
Yeah.
Does he actually have an attitude problem? Or is that just a thing you hear?
You're playing in Arizona that's...
Or was it because like he just didn't respect the coach, and so of course he wasn't taking it seriously? Or was like there's a lot of
Coach didn't
question marks on that.
him, potentially, or the organization. He felt disrespected
Nation,
by the organization.
exactly. Like how much?
Because remember, that organization rates near the bottom for player happiness.
Yeah, it does.
So
I'm just
rate
curious.
Very high, though, so
again, it just depends on how true is the statements coming from both sides. Like
exactly.
how, like obviously we have to take it with a grain of salt because obviously they're going to color themselves to look better, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So I think that he probably does have a slight attitude problem, but is it as bad as what everyone says? Don't know.
Yeah. Currently, the guy I'm looking at as a preseason MVP who's raised his stock the most is probably DTR.
I mean, yeah, considering the fact where he got drafted at, I would say that he's raised
he's
pretty
raised
good
his
amount.
stock quite a bit, to be completely honest with you. I think there are other players, both Daniel Jones and Derek Carr, that have proven that they are going to be good.
They're
QBs.
starters.
And Baker Mayfield is proving that he just needed someone to believe in him.
I don't know. Every time I think that, though, he always fucks up somehow. So we'll see.
We'll see how that goes.
I mean, remember, he was on the Rams with McVay, and, like...
he had one really good game, and then a really crap game. So we'll have to see if he can find some consistency in Tampa Bay. We'll have to see.
If he can, then great. I mean, Baker's one of those guys that, like... he's so frustrating to watch, because he'll
look really great one
he's
drive.
He's literally a gunslinger. He's like the Brett Favre, right? Like, he's gonna just throw it because he thinks he can make the throw, and sometimes he just can't. And he's one of those players. And
favorite Brett Favre story, real quick, because there is one that I liked, despite all the stuff that's happened. He played on a Monday Night Football game the night after his father died. And he had a ridiculous stat line, but that's because at the time, I forget who it was, but one of the guys got the wide receiver room together, and he said, "Okay, listen, I don't care if the old man flings it into the fucking parking lot. You aren't dropping anything today. We are catching everything. I don't care where he puts it. You better catch it." And they pretty much caught everything. It was
pretty much,
yeah. It was pretty ridiculous. Yeah.
Yep.
That's a great story. I like that story.
Yeah. It's but that's what Baker is, and unfortunately, like, if you don't have a wide receiver room that can make that work, or if you don't have a coach that can tamp down some of the worst tendencies, so to speak, then it's just not going to work.
Exactly.
And Baker he had moments with the Browns that looked good. Honestly, I think the Browns made a huge mistake when they moved off him when they did, because he was still kind of finding his stride, and then they also went the Deshaun Watson's route, and I think if they could take that back, they would, to be honest with you.
I think so, too. I think there's a lot of teams.
Then he went to the Panthers, and that was a shit show, but the Panthers were a shit show. Then he went to the Rams and looked, towards the end of the season, and looked okay. Now he's with the Bucs. Now he's going to get another big full season with a team who's actually going to have him as the starting quarterback. Give him another chance. I don't know. I'm curious to see, because he hasn't had the best of luck with his teams. Maybe this one will finally give him the full shot opportunity and not be like, hey, we're going to bring in this other veteran who probably isn't as good as you.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that goes.
All right. Well, we'll come back next week, because I can't think of anything else. We'll come back next week with a full...
I mean, we could go over all the full preseason week 2s and pick winners, losers, but there's no point in that.
There's no
it's
point
preseason.
in that. We're not going to pick winners and losers in a preseason. We're not going to start that until week 1 of the actual season.
We'll watch the preseason and just let you know what happens in the preseason
and
next
kind of
week.
let you know who we think are the great players. Like I said, DTR is currently leading my pack. He's people that have improved their stock the most.
I don't know. Clifford's pretty much right there for me at the moment, but that's
we'll
from what I saw.
Yeah.
I want to see week 2 again.
You want to see
because DTR obviously has 2 weeks now to actually Clifford match that.
Like
if Clifford can match that, whoa, that's gonna be fun.
So, in the meantime, we'll let everybody know. Hey, if you like what we do here, give us a like, give us a subscribe, share us around with your friends. If not, whatever. We're also gonna let you know that we we hope that you all have a great week. We'll see you back here again next week. We will be back. In the meantime, have a great day. Have a great week.
Deuces!
Deuces!